Ever since the halcyon days of Me Too twat waffles pissing away taxpayer funds in court because bill from accounting brushed against their boob in a crowded elevator back when the first one was invented in 1857, we watched our own mouths harder than the top button of Sydney Sweeney's blouse. But this week, any illusion that the First Amendment is ranked in order of importance was shattered like Conor McGregor's kneecap. Allow me to set the stage. A tiny poop butt Somali kid attempts to steal from and or harass a woman and her child at a public park. The kid's welfare defrauding father intercedes, whipping out an iPhone I'm certain your taxes paid for, whereupon the epithets fly like bombs over Iran. But one such bomb happened to have an N.
Did you call him a nigger, the child? Did you call the child the nigger word? It is my own business. You call him a nigger? Okay, why don't you have the boss to say it right now again? Okay.
The N-word. You know what came next. Cue the countrywide controversy, big bloody murder ID network headlines absolutely everywhere. By the time the mainstream media was done, you would have thought this woman owned a plantation full of hard R's. Irony of ironies, a national controversy we could have all completely avoided if only both these babies had been in a Minneapolis daycare. But believe it or not, this clown show hadn't even hit intermission yet. A prosecutor would actually take time out of their busy day of springing sex criminals out of old pokey to file what may well go down as the two single stupidest criminal charges ever filed in the history of this country. Not hate speech, after all, we're still pretending to have a constitution around here. No, instead the state would settle for, get this, fighting words.
Hey you, let's fight. Them's fighting words.
And if disorderly conduct sounds like a more accurate description of a father and child harassing a woman or son in a public park while recording their reaction so they can post it to ZuluTube or some shit, you, my friend, sound like you have had a bit too much to think. Though disorderly conduct, as it turned out, would be on the milder side of the Somali father's criminal record, as he'd been previously convicted of the kind of crimes that are traditionally punished with a millstone, a rope, and an 80-fathom fucking drop, but released by the same Minnesota prosecutors who insisted on convicting Shiloh Hendrix of hip-hop speech, and all in the name of cultural tolerance. And if that's the case, asshole, buy me a pallet of cultural lactate, because I have officially been diagnosed with cultural intolerance. Although given one, maybe two looks at Shiloh Hendrix, I have gained a renewed appreciation for dairy. The trial that followed was more for show than John Travolta's marriage. But if burying this bitch was the goal, it backfired biblically. Granted, before she'd finished pronouncing the hard R, thanks to a GoFundMe effort from like-minded shitlords, she'd already made more money than a clean whore in Amsterdam. Hence, even as she suffered the whopping $1,000 slap on the wrist, you know, mentally she was saying to herself, ooh, a little more to the left. But it's the principle of the thing, namely that the judge has none. I, for one, started humming the funeral march as soon as I saw Shiloh stride into court looking like the girl next door to the titty bar. Let that be a lesson to you, ladies. Never be a blonde with big boobs in a court of law presided over by a female judge. Because if there's a single vagina in that courtroom, you're going down like Dillinger. Gang, this is not a subliminal speech code issue. Title of this rant aside, it's not even really about free speech, at least not in a national context. No, the fountainhead of this fuckwittery boasts a single eponym, and that name is Minnesota, a state that essentially outlawed castle doctrine during the Byron Smith case in 2012, to the effulgent cheers of many a theoretical conservative, might I add, the state that clapped Derek Chauvin in irons while admitting he operated within company policy and giddily subsidizing all of Somalia via a fraudulent fucking daycare scam. Folks, it is time to admit that Minnesota has, for all functional intents and purposes, seceded from its constitutional obligations, and thus from the United States of America itself. Hell, they've already got snitch lines. Now we're outlawing language the average middle schooler wouldn't even bother to giggle at. Folks, Minnesota isn't a failed state. It is attempting to become its own failed country. But if they're rewarding this fatherless, motherless, and in all likelihood bottomless behavior, I, for one, can't wait for the vermintide horde to descend on Minnesomalia, camera phone abreast, striddling the 6 remaining white people in the state to drop an errant racial slur for free discrimination dollars. Hell, you can already break into a stranger's home when without fear of a 45 facial. And before anyone chimes in about Byron Smith ending those 2 teenage asshats after they were already immobilized, I must have missed the meeting where your castle was any less of a castle if in the process of ending a burglar you make the mistake of recording yourself taking too much delight in doing it. If enjoying the act of doming a geeked up, presumably armed asshat who previously purloined half my gun collection in no less than 3 preceding burglaries is a crime, bitch, you better clap me in more restraints than Hannibal Lecter on bath salts, because where home invaders are concerned, your pulse stops where my welcome mat begins. Don't like it? Take it up with Yakub. You gave the government an inch. Some of you even cheered him on as he achieved insertion. So don't bitch now that the bedsteads are rocking. Minnesota seized any gun without a Super Soaker logo on the side, and you did dick. Worse still, Derek Chauvin and Byron Smith got sent off to Club Fed, and those ostensibly on our side could scarcely conceal their own arousal. What in the 9 circles of hell did you expect to happen here? Government was just gonna spontaneously surrender your rights back to you? There's an age-old adage that I invented 5 seconds ago. You can give the government your guns handles first, but you can only take them back muzzle first. And the same goes for speech, even when it happens to be spicier than a Chipotle dump. What does it say when the samples of Smokehouse Gouda at Costco are more free than your fucking speech? The laws don't trickle down from the dipshits on Capitol Hill. They waft up from the culture. If the air is redolent with jasmine-scented genius and the aroma of innovation, corrupt though it may be, the most opprobrious impulses endemic to government are generally held in harness. But if the culture stinks like Biden's Depends on Curry Night, the stench of the resultant government could knock a buzzard off a shit wagon, and you know it. To reckon with corrupt government, one must first reckon with a corrupt culture, and the only way that happens is if the most noxious aspects of said society are ushered from public view. You don't get to stroll meekly past pricks firing up fent bombs at a hobo camp, passively intimating to yourself, surely the government will do something about it, and expect anything at all to change. What you tolerate is what you prescribe, and we will have justice when we stop locking people up for saying racial slurs and start locking people up for being racial slurs. I'm Razor Fist. Godspeed.
Have you heard about this Huckleberry Finn thing?
I heard something about they wanted to take the N-word out, right?
Well, I feel it's a thorny issue.
Mm-hmm.
No, that wasn't the whole thing.
No.
I thought you were going to go like, well, how so, or something like that. So you got a thorny issue that I think I have a solution to. Do you want to hear it?
Oh, man. Never anything more.
You know, you don't want to take, Mark Twain, one of the greatest writer ever to brush paper with ink, and change his words, for God's sake. On the other side of the coin, you don't want to have a young African-American boy in school, hearing that word out loud and causing him pain. So it's a thorny issue. You've read Huckleberry Finn.
You are so splendidly demented. Yeah, I've read it.
You know it's written in the first person by Huckleberry Finn.
Yes, I do.
And you know it includes the N-word.
Yes.
Therefore, you just change Huckleberry Finn to a black kid.
And it's like a rap song at that point, right?
Exactly. Everything's cool.